Welcome, everybody. The Village of Sayward respectfully acknowledges that we are gathered on the land, the unceded territory, the Comox First Nations, the traditional keepers of our land. Call the meeting to order. Introduction of late items. CAO.
Thank you, Mayor. The first one is something that Lisa sent out earlier this week. It's the strategic plan, simply that it was omitted from the original package in error. So it's just to include that under her report. The second one is a grant, and that's a grant opportunity that came in from the SRD. That's probably my oversight. I don't know how I missed an email, though I love my emails, but I missed this one. So that's why you've got it here. It's basically a grant to 100% funded, $3,000 to create a bit of a relationship with the First Nations on safety and emergency preparedness issues. So those two first, and I'll deal with the third one once you've done the first two.
Very well. So in terms of the strategic plan, as was mentioned, that's for review. Okay, because it was not in the package. The grant opportunity we just received, so we're going to have to go through that. I believe we have some time on that, so we can bring that back to the December 6th.
The grant part?
The grant part?
No, it has to be done right away because the timing is such that it has to be done before the 26th of November.
So 100% funded grant up to $3,000. We'll add it to staff reports.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We're going to add that to staff reports. That is number 11. 11F. Okay. So you just have to add it onto there. G. Oh. It is G. Okay, G for grant. There we go. Okay, and as I said, the strategic review, but it's just for your review only. We're not going to get into that tonight. And the third late item.
Did you do a resolution on that?
On the
first two?
No, sorry. Do we have a motion to move to the grant opportunity to G of staff reports and the strategic plan just for review? Second? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Mr. Mayor, the third item is a motion to reconsider resolution R22-179. And I'll read that the verbal report for the mayor on cost sharing this year's Secret Santa event be received for discussion, and that the village share the cost of the Secret Santa event with the valley to a maximum of $500 to be funded from the 2022 council budget. The actual resolution to reconsider is non-debatable. It's simply something that you consider and say yay or nay to the reconsideration. If you say yes, it goes on to the unfinished business portion of it, at which point you'll get a chance to discuss that resolution.
Correct. And if you say no, then it's done. So do I have a motion, please? To receive, pardon me? Motion to reconsider that the village share the cost of Secret Santa event with the valley, a maximum of $500 to be funded for the 2022 council budget. Do you have a motion, please? Second? Okay, there is no discussion, so all in favor? Okay, opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. And we will move that to where did I have that moved to? New business? No. Unfinished business? Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's where I had it too. Okay. So we'll move it to number 10. Everybody's good with that? Thank you. Any other late items? That covers it. Recommended resolution that the agenda for the regular council meeting on November 15th, 2022 be adopted and approved. Everybody's good with the agenda? As amended. Everybody good with that? Okay. And a recommended resolution that the minutes from the inaugural council meeting that was held on November 1st, 2022 be adopted. Motion, please. Second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And that the minutes of the regular council meeting that was held on November 1st, 2022 be adopted. Motion, please. Thank you. Second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Petition and delegations, none. Correspondence, we're going to go through this one by one today because our CEO has some good suggestions. Correspondence, the first one is the UBCM 2021 Active Transport Planning project. That's not a, we don't have anything on that one, correct?
Sorry, it's just noticed that we've met all the conditions of the grant. The report's done. It's complete.
It's 100%. So we got our money. Is that correct? No,
The mail.
it's in the mail. The check's in the mail. Okay, B was the Comox Treaty News. The CEO suggested, and it's a good idea, to send them a letter of congratulations for where they are in the process. Does council agree? Do we need a motion on that? No. Everybody agrees? Send them a letter, congratulations. Okay. AVICC. We're going to bring that one back to the December 6th in terms of any resolutions that you see or that you would like to see happen. But one of the things that we do have to discuss is hotel accommodations on who is going to be going to AVICC, and the dates is April. Is that correct? I can't remember exactly. April 15th or
The 17th.
15th. Sorry.
No.
So close. April 14th to the 16th, right in the middle there. So what councillors, now generally we don't take the whole crew, correct? So generally you take a maximum of 2 has been for a lot of municipalities. What's the history here? 2 or 3? Okay. So is there 2 councillors that want to go to AVICC again? There's 2 newbies that have never been. Can you get the time off work?
Yeah.
Okay, and what about, I was getting the newbies, got the oldies. Us older, more experience. For us folks that were here before, Tom, Councillor Tinsley, you can't go. Councillor Polson? Yes.
Just point of clarification. Do you get to go through by being the board chair?
Yes. I'm covered. All my expenses and everything else are going to be covered by the SRD. Okay, so what we'll do is prior to that, we'll see what is on the agenda for AVICC. We'll meet. That'll be a quorum then. We'll meet and we'll decide on the divide and conquer for the different programs. Last time it was just Councillor Polson and myself, and there were still things that we missed, couldn't go to. One of the things that I would suggest is we do not go to the dinner. The dinner at the ABICC is, never mind, it's very expensive. It's extremely loud. There is no networking opportunity there. And the food wasn't good either, but that's okay. That's besides the point. Sorry, do you have something to add, CAO?
We should have a resolution on who's going to attend.
Mhm. Yep. So we need a motion, please, for that. What's your name again? Oh, boy, you have one of those days, eh? That we have the three of us, or you three going. Councillor Burchett, do I have to say the names too? Yeah, we do. Councillor Polson and Councillor Gilkin, wasn't it?
I think so.
Is it Pat?
Maybe my-
Pat Gilkin? Was it Roger Gilkin? Okay. And Cohen Gilton attend AVICC from April 14th, 15th, and 16th. Right? And hopefully we can, there'll be some sort of carpool. Yes. Yeah, it's in Nanaimo. It's not. It'll be a short jaunt this year. Okay, AVC's workshop suggestions, hotels. So we'll need hotels for the three. Mine will be booked, I assume, through the SRD as well. But I'll clear. Yeah, I'll confirm that. Okay, E.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. So we'll bring back the resolutions part to January. We don't need a resolution for that unless you want to do one.
I thought we were gonna look at it December 6th.
Okay, there's two parts to this. Resolutions don't have to be sent in until February, so we've got time.
Right?
The topics one has to be done December 6th. Yes. What was the timeline on it?
It's,
9th.
is it due on the 9th?
Right. I'm pretty sure it's 9th. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you can do it on December 6th if you want.
right, at the December 6th meeting, and on December 9th, it'll be sent in.
Yeah.
Okay,
So is that-
yes, please. We don't need a resolution on that, do we? Okay, agriculture update from DFO, the net pen transition plan engagement session for November 25th. On that information package is the email to send whether or not you want to attend. I would like to know if you're going to attend. It's a virtual meeting. So if you plan on attending that meeting, please notify me. Let me know. Okay, I will be attending. Municipalities for a Climate Innovation Program. There's a full report in the mayor's office and the council office. So please, at your leisure, go through that. BC assessments. The CEO suggested it would be a good idea to bring them out, invite them back to do another presentation, because it'd be probably good information for these two new gentlemen. Council agree? Very well. We don't need a motion on that either, do we? We just send an invite. The referral of BC timber sales 2023 Campbell River Forest Stewardship Plan 936. There's really nothing that we need to address there. Greek Seafood would like the opportunity for us to go view their facilities, including the one in Gold River. Okay, so we will have to work on dates and coordinate that and see whether or not, because if we're looking at the plant in Gold River, we're looking at a few hours trip, right? One way to get there. So we're going to have to check everybody's schedule and go back into carpool and so on and so forth for that. So we don't need a resolution on that. Sorry, CAO.
I'm sorry. Do you want me to send them a note saying you are interested?
Yes, please,
Dates in January through March.
please.
Okay, just to remind you, I've got a couple of meetings that I'm trying to get dates from you on, and I know some of you responded, but some of you have not. It'd be good to hear from you, so I can, especially the The one for, sorry, the fish other, Maui, sorry, Maui, yeah. So I think one person has got back to me on that one.
There's also going to be dates coming up in the future to meet with the Wee Wee Kai and Wee Wee Kum chiefs. But there's been no date set at this point. So that's a meeting that we're going to be, they're requesting that it be held in Campbell River due to possible road conditions or what have you for them to drive out here. I'm sorry? Yes, we would suffer the same road conditions in our travel, but we're more accustomed to going back and forth. Okay, so we're going to have to coordinate dates on seafood, on Griggs, and Sayward Georgia Rock. We had a letter from Joyce Ellis that everybody had a chance to read. And just over $6,400 was raised. Is there anything else the CAO would like to add on the correspondence? Nope. Okay, recommend a resolution that all the correspondence A to J be received. Do I have a motion, please? Second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Council reports. Any councillor have a report? Councillor Bichette.
Yes, I have a report from,
It's not, sorry, it's not on the agenda. Oh, okay, that's my mistake. Okay, we can save that for the December 6th meeting then. Sorry, the meeting was last night, so there was no opportunity to get it on the agenda prior. Okay, that's my fault. Does anybody object to hearing the report? No? Okay. Next time I'll do better. Go ahead, Councillor.
last night I attended my first Sayward Futures Society meeting. It was kind of a cool location down at the dock there. There was a nomination of a few new board members, and one of them, Alex Turner, is going to be on the Wharfhead Committee and wanted to meet with Tom to discuss some of the history with repairs to the wharf and the engineering studies. They're going to continue their grant writing for student labor for January for hires for next summer. They're going to be involved in some of the Canada Day planning, and they want to collaborate possibly with the village for maps for tourism, some online maps, and there's some ideas floated there. Also, a suggestion was we look into a grant for the outdoor stage for outdoor music in the summer. So there's an opportunity there possibly. What else do we have here? There was talk about using our share van for deliveries for the food bank, and we'll have to discuss that further. And a suggestion was have them officially write us a letter requesting usage of the share van for the food bank deliveries. And that's about all for what I have to report. Anyone have any questions?
I'll ask that. It's good. Does anybody have any comments on or questions for our Councillor Bichette on the Sayward Futures? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, so do we have to have a motion to receive the report? No, that's all good. Mayor's report. Okay, so I assume that everybody had the opportunity to read that. Councillor Burchett is going to be taking care of most of the work on the on this Christmas event. And what's going to be important here is I talked to Ken, the chair of Seaward Futures. They are going to go ahead and do the hot dogs and the drinks again. It wasn't discussed at their last night's meeting. But Ken assures that there's not going to be an issue because we have a deadline in terms of what's going to happen with the Seaward Valley newsletter that's coming out on Friday, where the deadline is actually Sunday to get all that information in the 20th. So we're still waiting on what we have for prizes and from whom. Do you have an update on that?
Yeah, as of today, we have a ham and a turkey donated by Fisher Boy for prizes. I stopped at the co-op again, didn't meet with anyone that could give me a prize update. Went into the Crossroads as well and left my information again. I'm still waiting to hear back. So 1 for 3.
Okay, so we're gonna have to nail that down before deadline on that. We did have some good news that Santa is coming to town. He's sitting across from me. But don't tell the kids, it's really not. But so they're gonna set up, Santa Claus is going to be in the gazebo. And there will be, I'm thinking, people will take selfies of or pictures of their kids sitting with Santa. And no, not you. I'm sorry.
Next year.
So we're gonna be in there, so that should be fun. Now, also, I got word back from Jeff from WFP. They are gonna be bringing us a tree. The reason why they are gonna be bringing us a dead tree is because the big Christmas tree that they brought us that we were supposed to decorate is 3.5 feet tall. So maybe you, when you're my age, will be able to decorate that tree. But in the interim, we have to, this year we'll do that. They'll bring us another tree. We'll get a hole dug, put in the ground, and we'll have to do the same thing as last time. Until we figure out and maybe convince them to bring us a bigger tree that we can actually plant and decorate the following year. Go ahead, Councillor Tinsley.
My understanding of the small tree is that it's.
My understanding of the small tree was that it was supposed to grow with the community. So we were supposed to enjoy that small tree. And if we wanted something bigger, put some 2x4s up with lights above it. So my understanding was we were supposed to get away from having dead trees brought in and holes dug. That was I appreciate Western Forest.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That was the whole idea, but I didn't understand about building something around the tree to make it look bigger.
No, well, I mean, the concept. It was in an email. Anyway, bottom line was you take 2x4s, put them up in a teepee, and then you put lights around your small tree if you really want a big tree. But as Charlie Brown says, any tree is a good Christmas tree. So I just bring that point up, and I totally appreciate that Western Forest is bringing that in, but that was the concept.
And you are correct. That was the concept. So it's a conversation that Jeff from WFP and I were going to be having, or Brad. I don't know. I mean, what's your guys' thought on decorating a 3.5 foot Christmas tree? We don't have to increase the budget for Christmas lights on the tree. But I think it would be, last year's tree was a Charlie Brown tree. For the most part. It worked. It was fun, but now in saying that, also, it's not in here, but we'd like to ask another $500 to add to the Christmas decorations to get more stuff decorated in and around from the gazebo. Like, for example, lidded deer, they got the little figurine, that kind of thing, to make it more of a Christmas park type thing. And every year we keep adding to it. and filling up that area with Christmas, so it becomes eventually a fairly large, event and very bright and beautiful. Council have any concerns over that? Councillor,
Do we
Sorry?
get to invite Will Ferrell as Elf to show up?
hey, moving on. Do we have, no, let me rephrase the question. Does anybody have any comments regarding additional $500 onto the Christmas budget? I don't believe we spent all of it last year. Did we spend it all? Okay. Yeah, because we added all the lights around the gazebo and that. Councillor Bichette?
Yeah, as long as we use LED lighting or something that's really efficient and will last a while.
Okay, Councillor Tinsley?
I agree.
I agree.
Councillor Paulson?
I think it's a great idea to start to accumulate Christmas decorations. I think we have to consider where we're going to store them, have a space for storing them if we're having animals and structures and penguins and things like that. But, but they do take up space, so.
They do. Yeah, once, I'm sure we can, I don't know, we have a share shed. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure we'll be able to figure out some type of storage facility. Because when it grows and it gets bigger and bigger, we're going to have to look at that very seriously. Okay, so I need a motion. We'll have first that the council receives the mayor's report for information and discussion on the Christmas. There's more mayor's report coming. And that we have a budget of $500 for adding new Christmas decorations to the December 16th function. Do I have a motion, please? Second? Discussion? Councillor Paulson? Sorry.
Will there be a committee to buy these or will it be who will do this?
Well, Councillor Bichette has been running most of the thing. What we've been done in the past and we want to keep with is having this strictly local. So we purchased all this stuff last year through the Seward Valley Resort. Do the same thing. All the prizes are from our area, from the valley or the village, and nothing from outside. So we're not going to go to Costco and purchase whatever, or Walmart or what have you. Everything is strictly for the purposes to promote locally. So do we have all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Organizing the tree decoration is something I forgot, sorry. We're going to talk about getting MASCON back with the bucket, correct?
Yes, I still have to contact them, but we'll get on that right away.
Okay, yeah, because we got to have most of all this wrapped up before the end of the week in order to get
I'm
it on
trying.
the
I
Valley News.
have a really busy week as well, so
You
trying.
want somebody else to do it, or
Well,
are you going
just
to be able to?
I can continue on with the list and go after it, but for some of the things like getting the prizes from the co-op, Crossroads, I mean, I've made 2 attempts already, so maybe someone that works there might be able to have a bit more headway than me. Councillor Gilkin?
I can make an attempt at the Crossroads. I'm sure I could swing something.
Generally, what we need is 2 prizes from each location, and also the mill from Mike Satt jumped in there last year as well, even if he does one again. But generally it's 2 because we have the village and the valley for the Christmas decorations. And Gerald Wally will do the announcing on the valley winners, and I will do the announcing on the village winners. But we need to get those prizes wrapped up. We could talk about it later. Okay, tree decoration. MASCON is, if we don't get MASCON to help, the only thing that concerns me about trying to decorate the tree and put the star up is how? Because a ladder is just not a good idea. Counselor Tinsley?
Stick to small tree that's already there.
Stick to the 3.5 foot tree, and then we don't have to worry about that. Okay, well, from what I understand, they're only bringing us an 8 to a 10. But if MassCon can't do the decorations, we need volunteers. Okay, to decorate the Christmas tree. So you have a little bit to think about that. Okay. And invite local families to donate prizes. That I'm not sure about. CEO, did you want to comment on that? Do you have any suggestions on local families to donate prizes? No?
We haven't been in the community for a while, so
Okay.
I think, I don't know, maybe Lisa has I know Rebecca does really good baking products, but
Baking's good. Okay, so leave that. Now, also committee of the whole meetings, pardon me?
For the, I think what it's referring to is the local artisans, like the artists and people that make pottery, or like Rebecca, do the baking, or Nina, who does baking too. So there's an opportunity for somebody that likes to go hiking, putting in a hiking trip or a fishing trip or something like that. It doesn't have to be something wrapped up in, well, it could be a certificate wrapped up in a box, or it could be an oar with a trip on it, fishing trip, or things like that.
One of the things I think we need to look at definitely is getting started on this a lot earlier than we are now, to give us the opportunity to go after what you're referring to. I think right now, trying to organize and get artisans, local artisans involved, unless we have a list of phone numbers or people have contacts with that. I'm not very familiar with many of those, but I think we'll see if there's nothing that comes from the Crossroads and from the co-op, then we'll scramble and find something. Yeah, Saved Futures is supposed to give a couple. Go ahead, Scott.
What I started was actually putting this list together of things to do, so we can have this filed and have names, numbers, prizes, people that donated in the past. So when the next person does it next year, or even if it's myself, we have a template to go by that'll be efficient and save a lot of problems running around. And I'm relatively new to the town, so I haven't met some of these people before, and they don't know who I am. So it was kind of hard to break a couple barriers. So just by completing this and filing it, we can use it as a reference for next year.
Good, thank you. Okay, so next is the committee of the whole. I had a conversation with our CAO, and he brings up some very valid points that we should have the cow. So we can go through the orientation binder, code of conduct, dress code, and procedural bylaw. Therefore, that I'm suggesting a CAL meeting on Tuesday, December 13th. We only have one meeting scheduled in December. That's December 6th. And the 13th is still a few weeks before Christmas. Is everybody in agreement with the 13th? Tuesday, the 13th? Councilor Bichette?
Yeah, I'm in agreement for now. I would have to reference my calendar at home, but I don't see any problem with that.
Okay, CAL meetings are extremely important that everybody attends. You're good with that date? Tuesday? Okay, thank you. Sorry, 7 o'clock,
7? Okay, thanks.
same time as a regular council meeting. And that is, no, it's not really the regular time we'd have a council meeting, but anyhow, 13th, 7 p.m. Okay, so we'll put that down. Now, also that, for those of you that don't know, I've been elected chair of the Strathcona Regional District last Wednesday and started immediately that particular meeting. So this is what we discussed earlier. One of the benefits to the municipality is that they'll cover my costs for AVICC, UBCM, FCM, and all the other. So that's nice, and that allows the next person to go or save on budget if there's not the group. So it's pretty exciting. It's going to be challenging, but I'm excited about it. So that council recommended resolution, the council receives a mayor report for information and discussion. Do I have a motion, please? Thank you. Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Unfinished business.
Mr. Mayor,
Sorry, CEO?
I think if you're gonna have, excuse me, if you're gonna have a cow, you should have a resolution.
I apologize. We have a resolution for December 13th at 7 PM for our CAL meeting to discuss what we discussed earlier. Do I have a motion, please?
I move the cow.
You're moving the cow. Okay, I have a second.
I'll second move the cow.
You're going to help him move the cow.
Yeah.
Excellent. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, now it's at number 10, the reconsideration of resolution. Councillor Polson.
Thank you. I put this resolution or this reconsideration forward because not to scold anybody, or I just wanted to bring attention to the proper procedure and point out that it was a verbal report only, and whenever there's been requests for funding, even if it's, well, it usually starts out as cash funding, requests for cash funding, and then council has referred back to the group saying that only in-kind funding has been given before. So it's setting a precedent for having many groups coming forward to request cash donations. So our procedure is to consider written requests for in-kind donations. And I think in fairness to the two new councillors, having a request or a recommendation on the agenda with very little background information about what the procedure is for requesting funding. I think this should be reconsidered so that they have the full amount of information to consider before they before we all decide on what we would choose to do. And I'd just like to point out that on the original motion that was moved and seconded, that also Councillor Tinsley was opposed. So there were two people opposed, I
Okay.
believe.
Thank you. Tom, Councillor Tinsley mentioned that he was not opposed.
As I recall, I mean, if the record
Yeah.
shows that
Okay, so, okay, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'd just like to bring it forth for reconsideration. I think also having, I don't know whether it was referred to as a challenge, but a challenge coming from another district is, I don't know what the deal was for it. So I think we should also consider that. And I don't think council has ever been asked to, has been challenged to meet or, make the
No,
reservation, make the donation. I'd like more information on why the director made the request and why he didn't submit it himself.
okay, please allow me to comment. Director Wally just said he had a request. Apparently the office here had a request as well for a donation to Secret Santa. It is the information I didn't provide, which I just found out today, was the fact that the money is not going to the individual, it's going to the Legion, and the Legion is dispersing those funds of the nonprofit to Secret Santa. There was no challenge or anything else. He just asked that it would be nice if we split it with him for $500. We have given cash donations in the past. For example, like Linton, we've given cash. There is no line in the budget, as you mentioned in your email, for cash donations, but it is something that we have done in the past for Linton and also for the Guardians of the Forest. In terms of requests by other groups, we still get requests regardless if we give $500 to Secret Santa or not. People can request whatever they like. It's a question of whether or not we agree to it. There was no hidden agenda on the $500 from Gerald Wally or anything else on that. There is no cash donation line on the budget, and there never has been, but we have given cash donations. Now, there is no resolution that I found, and staff can correct me, any resolution in place that states if we are going to give $500 or whatever the amount is, that this is a procedure that we follow. I didn't see any bylaw on that or any resolution that prevents us from doing that. And if there was, I would assumed that the staff would have brought that up when the original motion came forward. This is a $500 donation. It's, as I said, it's going to be distributed through the nonprofit organization, and there's going to be an accounting for it. So that's going to alleviate one of the concerns that you had in terms about the accounting for that monies. And I don't believe there's any reason to rescind this motion. And I stand with my original approval. Councillor Paulson?
I also think that there's people at this table that aren't aware of how the Secret Santa operates and how they solicit funds and how individuals or families are asked to donate. And as far as I know, up until 3 years ago, when I was heavily involved in Secret Santa, there was never a request to council for a cash donation. And I think if a council or a director wants to donate money from the municipality or the regional district, then that should be an individual decision. And I think the money is going to a good cause, certainly. And people at this table have donated individually. But as a council, I think when we're opening up, donating to cash to non-profit organizations or private groups or committees, donating to Lytton, or the other place that we donated to was to another government, was to the municipality per capita. It wasn't to a fund to support certain people. It was to support all of the people of Lytton, or there was another place up north that we
donated to Ukraine. We donated to the Guardians of the, from the Comox First Nations as well. One of the things that I've heard many times by people here in the community, and I've heard it through the SRD as well, is this year it's more of a struggle for most people because of the inflation cost and very difficult to find food and so on and so forth. So for security or gifts or what have you, I think $500 towards helping our community, the Valley Village, with this $500 is not a lot of money, but will do a lot of good. And it's going to be accounted for. So Councillor Kinsley, do you have any thoughts on this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a charitable organization. It's been in the community for a long time. I think for this year, I'm comfortable with going with it. I think in future years, I would agree with Councillor Paulson. We want to assess things further. I don't think there's any precedent set by donating 1 year. I think it's very reasonable that the SRD stepped up to their part. I'm thinking more from the charitable point of view and what you described for this year. So I'm comfortable with it as it is.
Thank you. Councillor Pritchett?
I'm more comfortable with the decision to donate now that it's the information that's been brought forward that's going through the Legion. Definitely feel more comfortable. And if we do get some kind of audit after or an understanding of where the gifts donations go.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gilkin?
I do stand by my decision to agree, in agreement.
Just want to say one more thing.
Sure. Councillor Paulson, you pitch your microphone, please.
Yeah. I am curious about the information about the Legion being accountable for the finances and the accountability. There was a bank account set up and it was passed from the previous mayor to the current coordinator of this event. And as far as I know, I would question whether it is there are certainly Legion members involved, but I have big questions about whether it's associated with the Legion, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, just to rebut on that, Director Wally said to me today, when we had the opportunity to discuss this, is that he would not give money to a private individual. It had to go through a nonprofit, and that's why it was going through the Legion. And I'm sure that Gerald Wally wouldn't misrepresent that $500. We're not talking huge, but anyhow, that's the discussion. CO? Yes. So we have a motion The again, the motion would be that we donate $500. The same motion. And it's going to be, I have a copy of okay. We're reconsidering the exact same thing. That the verbal report from the mayor on cost sharing of this year's Secret Santa be received for discussion, and that the village share cost of the Secret Santa event with the valley to a maximum of $500 be funded from the 2022 council budget. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? We already had that. We're not to do that again. Sorry, just have it. Yeah. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Paulson. Okay, carried. Okay, and we're going to go to staff reports. Okay, the first staff report is going to be, now is the CO going to take care of this, or is the CO? Okay, this is regarding the schedule. One of the things that I was noticing on this particular schedule is we have 2 meetings booked in December, as well as December 19th, I believe, on that particular schedule. Generally, last year, we only had 1 meeting in December. Everybody got a chance to review that? Now, I know we had to work around some dates in September because of the UBCM. So that's all been adjusted for. But the question is, do we still run December Tuesday 19th? And run 2 December meetings? Or do you want to do 1 like we're doing this year? Councillor Tinsley, any thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we've already reduced them to 1 in the summer times.
Correct.
So I think we have to stick to our program.
Okay. Councillor Bichette,
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Tinsley.
Councillor Paulson. Okay, Councillor Gilkin.
I have no problem at all.
Okay. So that council approves the attached 2023 regular council meeting schedule as presented, noting that July and August meetings are varied from council procedure bylaw number 416, 2015 to 1 meeting per month. Do I have a motion, please? Do I have a second?
I move that.
I'm sorry,
I'll second that.
discussion? All in favor? Oh. Yes,
Next year,
yes,
2020.
yes. I don't, we're talking about the 2023 schedule. Yeah. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Financial plan. The 2023-2027. Would you want to speak to it before the motion or during discussion? What are you comfortable with? Nothing to add? Okay. Thank you. So recommend a resolution that council scheduled for the following committee of the whole for the financial planning purposes, Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, Tuesday, February 14th, 2023, Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C is the orientation binder and project summary from John France. The council receives and discuss the orientation binder, projects and summary report. Do I have a motion on that, please? Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion, CAO. You'll be right with us. CAO, do you want to comment on C? 10C, pardon me, 11C.
I would. I'll try and go through it really quickly, and just to mention that, yeah, I'll just go through it really quickly. I tried to put forward the major items that we're working on, and I'll just again go through really quickly. Actions on resolutions. One of the things we try to do is we keep a database of all of our resolutions. We try to make sure that all of them are acted on, and as we move through a year, that list well probably stays the same, but the old stuff falls off as we get the work done. So we're trying to make sure that all the resolutions are acted on that council's given us direction for. It may sound a pretty straightforward thing, but as you move in and things get busy, some things get lost. And we have found a couple things that weren't acted on that I can tell you they weren't major, but still you gave us direction and our job is to do them. So we'll discuss those with you at a later date once we have everything done, including 2021. I know it sounds a little bit arduous, but I think it's important that we do that process. So you know, as a council, that when you pass a resolution that we're actually doing the work. Okay.
Perfect.
The SPIT report, this is what I've called a mini SPIT report. I'm going to take the one that was presented, I think, was it back in June? And I'll say I liked many things on it except the length. It's huge. And I think there's a lot of things in there that simply don't have to be in there. And a lot of them are simply more informational items than anything else. And it's important that you're kept up to date on the progress being made on the major projects that you give us, as well as the strat plan. But they should be the major things. They shouldn't be the minor issues. And I think there's a lot of minor stuff in there. So we don't want to flood you with paper. On the other hand, we want to keep you informed. 5-year financial plan, you had that here. Relationship building, number 4. The new counselors, you probably wanted, maybe you didn't want to see where it came from, but that whole idea of going to the NIML, this is where that came from. And also we've got 2 proposals coming for strategic planning as well as relationship building. That'll be on I think the December 6th meeting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Deb is one of the people that we were asked to get a proposal from, and the mayor and I met with her last week. So that's coming. Strat plan, again, you're going to get a proposal. OCP, I'll talk about that more in camera. It's a complex issue. Water issues, I've got a quote. Okay, water issues. One of the things about taking our dam down, give you a little bit of history. It was supposed to be anchored and cleaned up and rock bolts put in for seismic, all sorts of stuff. We had a grant for $792,000 to do that work. We did a second thought process on it. And that second thought process was, that's great that we've got this dam working for us, but what's it going to cost over the life cycle of the dam itself? And life cycle costing is really important because it tells you what you can expect in the future to maintain the dam. And basically the engineers and the hydrologists said it came out to X millions of dollars over 20, 30 years. I can't remember the exact timeline. So we looked at a number of different options, and the option that was presented to council the day was to remove the dam, remove the issue of having a dam fail. And I'm not sure if you remember this, but a couple of years ago, we had a couple dams fail throughout the province, and that basically got the province going on providing money for dam inspections and upgrades. So removing the dam got rid of the issue and replacing it with a weir, but it created another little problem. And that was, what do you do with climate change if the stream stops streaming? And the answer to that question is, the hydrologist said, no, there's always been water in that stream, always. There's only been 1 or 2 times in Tony's tenure here where under the old dam, the water actually started to recede from the top, and it only went down like 12 inches, which means that there wasn't as much water there as usual. Did it stop flowing completely? What's hard to tell. The hydrologist says the water is always there. It may drop to a very low amount, but it's always there. But the consequence of running out of water is just a tremendous impact on the community. So one of the things I've always been worried about is, can we look at other sources to find backup sources. And that's what this report that I'm mentioning here in this one, we got a quote, I think it's like $12,000. Frankly, I'm not happy with it, so I want to go back at them and ask a few more questions. But basically, they'd look for different sources and different ideas. I've always been intrigued. I don't know if you've ever looked at the map, but if the dam is over there, if you look on the map, like 5,000 feet that way, you'll see a little lake that's about 1,000 feet long and maybe 200 feet wide. And I've always been curious, it flows right into the Newcastle Creek. I've always been curious whether or not that lake can be tapped as an alternate source of water for the community. It wouldn't be cheap. But one of the things we did at Sunshine Coast Regional District, and this was, it was in the planning stages when I was there, but I think they've since done it, is to put a siphon into the lake they have up there that they're pretty well their sole source for water on the coast. And when the lake, when the stream stops flowing or flows very little, they get the siphon working. So it's not a case of making 5,000 feet of pipe. It's a matter of getting it over the lip of the lake and flowing enough that you can make it work by itself by siphon. Yes, it would require probably a lot of approvals. Don't know if it's fish bearing. That's a problem in itself. And there's the cost of the actually maintaining a little bit of infrastructure there. So I've asked the engineer about that, and that's, again, part of this report. The idea is if there's sufficient water in there, then if you got your siphon going, 4 6-inch pipe, whatever, it would be enough to keep you going for another month or two of, assuming there's sufficient supplies there. We know nothing of the lake, other than we can see it on the map. The second one is groundwater sources. They said they would look at aquifers, and apparently there's all sorts of aquifer mapping things that the province does that they would tap into and see whether or not there's a source there. I mean, that's a possibility, but that's expensive as well. And then the third one is simply to increase capacity, storage capacity. And to me, that certainly is something to go for, but it also has the problem that even our current storage capacity is not going to last very long. I've heard anywhere from 2 to 5 days unless there's really strict rules on it. And I think, frankly, from a money perspective, it'd probably make more sense to put everybody on meters so you can limit or at least identify leakage, which is another big issue. And I think you've addressed that in some of your grant funding requests. We need meters. That's the only way you can tell whether or not the system is holding water. So that's what that one's about. Now, there's one other little item, and that is to take a look during the budget time of who is charged what for water. And I think that the SWORD is undercharged. I was sharing this afternoon that when I originally did the calculation, I came up with 35 to 38% of the water that we produce is used by the SWORD. At the time, I wasn't aware that there's actually 2 in pipes to the SWORD. One is metered, and that's the one they sprinkle with. The second one is used to wash vehicles and provide water for their brakes as well as for their office. It's not huge. I really don't know how much it is, but I know it's more than what we've been charging them for. And frankly, I think from a policy perspective, throwing treated water on lumber is an awful waste. So I'm not going to be here, but my recommendation is certainly look at increasing water costs for the SWORD by a fair amount of money. They're paying a lot. It's not completely just grabbing money. You've got to rationalize it, and you rationalize it by usage. But there may also be a response back, and that response back would be, well, what happens then if they decide to use salt water? All of a sudden, you've lost 40% of your funding. That's a consideration you have to do. I don't think they would do that tomorrow. They won't use salt water. You should know that, because it rusts out their equipment. But they might find other sources, and that's not such a bad idea over the long run anyway. Anyway, those are things that you have to consider. And I think there's other things too about the budget that I think have to be looked at, and get into that later.
May I just jump in there? One of the things that the CEO just mentioned, if the log sort decides to, for example, go to a reverse osmosis system, right, and pull from the sea, they're not going to use salt water for the vehicles. That they're not going to do because of the rust and so on and so forth. But if they do decide that, and as Mr. France mentioned, that 40%, if they decide to go to another alternative, has to go back to, that's still monies that we need to pay. So that would go to the homeowners and spread around until a development would take that part of it. Right? So it would be, and I agree with Mr. France, it would be sort of a short-term pain for long-term gain. Because that does open up avenues for more development and not the concern that we do have for water. CAO?
I think to add to that, the other sources you got to look at is either a parcel tax or a frontage tax on water and sewer. You know, there's empty lots in town. Those lots are not paying anything for water or sewer and yet have the benefit of a water sewer system. It's common practice in municipalities that when you have an empty lot, that lot is valued, and the part of that value is the fact it has water and sewer available to it. An unserviced lot sells for less than a service lot. So they do get a benefit from it. Now, I don't think it's a big amount of money, but it's worth studying to see if there's, your guess is as good as mine, 30 or 40 lots that are undeveloped. What usually happens is there's two things that happen with funding a water and sewer system. There's the operational costs on a yearly basis that are usually funded by user fees. And then there's the capital costs and retiring debt, which is funded by the parcel taxes. And that's where you usually shoot for. You're not bound by law to do it that way. I know I worked for a bigger organization that took many years to get to that, but that was their goal. But the idea of unimproved lots paying, that's a plus. And it means that's extra revenue to the system. I don't know what that is right now. I've actually asked Urban Systems that they can give me a property count. I've actually been thinking about it lately. I believe BC Assessment has got an unimproved lot count, I believe, as part of their assessment system that we could look at. Now, the other thing is with frontages, it doesn't matter which way the sort would go. If the water line is going in front of them, they would still pay for the parcel tax. So,
That portion, yeah.
and there's others too, like for instance, the Adamo property would be paying frontage taxes and be paying a fair amount because frontage is based on, it depends on which way you go. If you go with a parcel tax, that's a little bit trickier. But a frontage tax is based on the amount of property you have fronting the service. So I think those are revenue sources that you really got to look at because it might mean the difference of a, 5 or 10 or 15,000 more.
Any comments? Councillor Bouchette?
With all the flat roof buildings here, like the one we're in now, has there been any discussion about water capture from the roofs?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't heard of any water capture. CAO?
This is actually a big Quonset hut, isn't it? But I mean, the water still, and I haven't heard anything about it. It would be interesting to see what the cost would be of doing that and where you could use the water.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Considering we have a pool here, it'd only be primary filtration that we could even supplement 1%, 2%, 3% usage of water here with rainwater, which is free other than filtration. We have a school next door that has a large roof as well. Could supplement the water. Wouldn't be too far to pipe it if we need to. Just simple ideas.
Thank you. CAO?
And the final revenue source, and this one is it's too bad. I know you've thought of it before, is DCC should be looked at. It's a little bit too late for the couple of properties that we've got that are subdividing, but
Yeah,
for
we
the
have to,
future, it's something that has to be really looked at.
we have to have it in our development bylaw.
So on to land use. There's basically 4 that are undergoing. I should tell you that Brad Brockman, I hope to have the agreement in front of council December 6th. I talked to the lawyer. I think we're there. There's a bunch of dangly bits there. It's a difficult situation. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. There is a few things that have yet to be done, but we think the agreement is there. One of the things we still haven't nailed him down on is for him to pay our legal fees, but I'm pretty sure that is going to be done. We'll put it this way, that's the council direction. So if he wants this done, he has to pay them.
Are we putting together some type of development package that when a developer comes into our area, they see that they have to cover legal, DCC, all that information? So there's no monies coming from the taxpayers on any development? Like,
I think if you'd like to have something come back to council, there are some bylaws in place, but I don't know to what extent. At the end of the day, certainly council can ask for that. It's pretty standard practice to do that. But if you want to ask for a staff report on it, I know we have a subdivision bylaw, and there's probably a few others that kind of dictate what our process is.
yeah, if we could have, I would like a staff report on that. You all agree? Please,
Okay, can I be,
December 6th? I'm just kidding.
kidding. Could you, okay, so you be more specific on the actual report you're looking for?
Well, for example, if I'm a developer and I come into our community and I say, okay, well, I want to develop X amount of land, what do I need? What's the cost going to be? So for example, so there is no, in the future, like we're having that discussion about legal being paid for. There is no development in my mind that should cost the taxpayers money. The developer needs to absorb all costs associated with that. So something very clearly defined in a development package per se. Make sense?
Would you like to put that in a resolution? That way it gets on the resolution and then you know it's in the books.
Sure. Do I have a motion, please, for adding a development package? Information to developers. Sorry, am I keeping you? Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? Motion, this is staff report. The staff report regard, yes. Yes, why don't we say it that way? Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That motion's carried.
Okay, so the next one is chickens, and if I may say, the cost of this one is not chicken feed.
I'm here all week, try the veal.
You got the report in front of you. Oh, it's terrible. That's why I got this nighttime job, because I'm not in front of a bunch of people in a bar. So you got a report, and I just want to emphasize that it's actually a lot of work to put that in place as well as to maintain it, but you will have this opportunity to chime in on that when the time comes. Recreation stats, done a little bit of work with Michelle on this. We're going to have a sample template, hopefully in December, of the types of things that we're trying to keep track of, attendance in the facility by programs, and also we've got a survey that we've looked at that is going to be made available to the patrons. The snow removal signage is up. We're starting to get a few comments in of people that are concerned. The vast majority of people are unconcerned that vehicles remain in the boulevard. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. And you've got reports coming on that. The camera system is ordered on the Kelsey Center. Yep, so that's in process. And the last one is the public works staffing. I think we have to be looking at this probably at more seriously in this year's budget. My comment is you know, we've got a job description, but what we don't have is any money to pay for the position. One of the things you've got is a bit of money in that you can reposition the money that we've got for our garden summer help, but that's nowhere near enough to pay someone to come on as someone that's a prospective Tony, that kind of level. You need someone with some, either has the certification or is nearing certification to run a water plant, and a sewer plant. And of course, all the different things that they have to do in keeping the place going. So with that, unless there's any questions,
I agree in terms of the summer position and having that funds be allocated to that, because is there not an opportunity to get summer help through a work cost shared program as they had before, like something with First Nations?
we are always keeping an eye out for that kind of thing. I don't know if we've done it lately, but it's certainly something we can look at to help, you're talking about help, the summer help, not the permanent
Correct.
job.
Yeah, something where, we pay a portion of their salary and the other group pays a portion of the rest. Job placement. Okay, thank you. So now, the recommended resolution was on the council receive and discuss the orientation binder project summary report. We did that motion, correct? No, let's do it now. Do I have a motion, please?
I move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none. Motion's carried. Active transportation study. There's some read for you. I assume everybody's gone through it. That the council receives and approves the active transportation study. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second? Discussion. Councillor Bichette?
Yeah, when I read it, it only showed that 17 people participated in it at the kiosk out front here. A little concerning if the data is all that accurate.
Do you have anything else to add to that or? No? Okay, thank you. Any additional questions? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Backyard chickens. Council received the backyard chicken staff report for information and discussion. And that council provide direction to staff on the next level. Do I have a motion, please, on the next steps? Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. Council, we have a discussion on the next steps. Now, there's a couple of different things we can do, shy of, CAO suggested that we could send out some type of study to see if people are interested in having chickens. Some type of referendum. Now, one of the things in terms of cost and having a bylaw officer, because we really don't have per se a bylaw and all the regulations that have to be followed. I mean, from reading the report, it was very extensive on what has to happen to have chickens and what happens if an animal gets into your yard and gets at the chickens and you have to report that and bringing unwanted animals into the community and so on and so forth. So council, I need some suggestions on what the next steps are. Councillor Tinsley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. After reading the full report, I also expressed the same concerns. I guess, and basically my concern is right now in terms of enforcing bylaws, we have a concern about our ability to do that based on not having a bylaw enforcement officer, shall we say, right? Overall. So my suggestion would be that the next step would be to draw up a very detailed proposed bylaw covering all the aspects of concern, everything from chicken area size, controls, everything that's discussed in these reports. And then look at whether we are comfortable, even with all those details, of moving forward on something like this.
And what costs?
And the cost, yeah. Is that what you meant by cost?
Well, no, I mean, cost on enforcing it, right? And hiring. a
Well,
bylaw
exactly.
agent and-
Like right now, we have some concerns about for enforcing bylaws that are much less complicated than this. And so my opinion would be to actually, now that I think about it and looking at it, like overall delay it for a little while. Put it off for, I would say, about a year. We've got some major things to get through. And I think the bylaw enforcement is going to be a very important part of this, based on everything I've read on the report.
So your suggestion is we table this for 1 year, bring it back
Yes,
next November CAO?
In the light of, I'm wondering if you'd want to refer this to the strategic planning exercise. And that way you can take a look at it. As you say, there's lots on the table, and at least you're assessing it with all the other things that have to be done at that time.
Okay. Councillor Bichette?
I'm an advocate for chickens. I think the bylaws can be piggybacked on existing bylaws in other communities. I've been a chicken owner myself when I lived in Souk. And they're really only a problem if you're a poor chicken owner. Just like if you're a poor dog owner and not responsible, that's when the problems are. And I find people that have chickens usually police themselves in their own little community. They reach out and get help from each other if they need help, or construction of facilities for chickens, disposal of the high nitrogen content chicken droppings. But again, that could be turned into helping your local garden with food security and cost of food right now. I think it's important to really consider this as an important item for this community.
Councillor Paulson?
I think there's lots of things to consider too, and thank you very much for the extensive report, because when we first talked about this, it was just the few questions we came up with were coming out to be quite onerous for a village. And I wonder how many of the people that signed the original petition are still in Sayward. And I wonder how many of those signatures are actually authentic and accurate. I could recognize a few children's signatures on the petition, seems to me. But I think it requires further further research, and I believe tabling it is a good idea too.
To the strategic planning session or?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Councillor Gilligan? Your mic, please, Councillor Wilson. Thank you.
Obviously I have a lot to learn. I've read the full report and all this. What I was going to bring up, Tom did bring up about the bylaw or the bylaw enforcement and not having money to enforce the bylaw. So I do agree with tabling as well.
To the strategic plan or for 1 year?
Strategic plan.
Okay. A motion, do we need a motion on that? We do. We have a motion to table the backyard chicken staff reports and discussion to the strategic planning session for 2023. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Are you opposed, Councillor Bichette? Okay, may I ask why? Am I allowed to do that? Is there something we've missed? No? Okay. Motion is carried. I think in part of, for me, a transparency and openness is to have everything out in the open. So if somebody's opposed to something, this is just a sidebar. This is not part of this. That's done. But if somebody's opposed, people in the, people that watch this tape are going to wonder why it's opposed as well. Just for future thought.
Can I just add to that?
Sure.
I think that's a really valid point, but it's also a valid point for a counselor to say, I've said enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Feel comfortable with that as well.
Okay. So that was that. And now the election report from 2022 for Lisa Clark, CEO. Recommended resolution that the 2022 election report for the chief electoral officer be received for information and discussion. Have the motion, please.
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion's carried. G. CAO.
I apologize, on my report, on the mini spit report. We got into telling you about the 4 land use things, but I got, kind of sidetracked on after the first one. So I wanted to just say, do you want to hear what's happening on the other 3 that we're dealing with?
Please.
All right, sorry about that. So Van Broecklyn, I've told you about, I'm hoping to have an agreement ready to go. It doesn't mean that it's settled. There's a whole bunch of things that comes after that. Like when I say settled, finished. If we get an agreement in place, we then have a template of what we have to do going forward. And what's going forward is things like road closure bylaws and registering at land titles. And what's the other one? Sorry, there's one other thing that he has to do, is slipping in my mind, but just so you know, there's a couple other steps that that have to be completed. As for Cooperton, had a meeting, John Manson, who's our approving officer on contract, as am I. He's a real plus. He has, in my mind, a really good understanding of land use planning, and has given them a number of questions. It's not a fait accompli right now. There are some issues outstanding, especially as it pertains to roads. And I think you'll probably get something, I'm hoping, in January on where we're at with it. It's probably going to be the council seeing what's being proposed and having to make a decision based on the advice given to you by the AO, and quite frankly, the decision is yours. So you'll see what I mean when you get there. You have some choices to make, and it's not mysterious. It's just there's choices to make, and it's not clear cut that yes, you should do the subdivision. I will say it was an interesting meeting. John Manson gave his items about land use planning. I gave my speech about the impact of forestry on McMillan and Dwyer drainage, and the fact that we're having to go out and get a $2.5 million grant to fix those problems that aren't our problems, but they were given to us by what's happening up in the mountain. And of course, they were interested to hear about that, but not too interested. Their comment back to me was, we're just doing what council told us to do, which I found very interesting. Apparently you told them, and I'm giving you this with a grain of salt because we see it for what it is, right? It was council that wanted to have the subdivision up there to provide more sites for building in the village. And I have no doubt that that was a really good thing to do. But they tried to make us feel like we are going against your wishes. Well, we aren't. We're trying to manage this process so that the village gets what it wants and they get what they want. And in my mind, I wanted them to come up with money. And of course, you're probably not going to get it. I want them to come up with something that says, yeah, we're going to fix the drainage. And especially the Dwyer Road one, because as if you recall from the drainage study, that culvert is very, very old. It goes through people's backyards, and you've now purchased those 2 properties, and it's viable to move that stream down through that property. It's not cheap, but some sort of contribution from them to help us do that would go a great ways to get some of the drainage issues solved. Anyway, I don't think you're going to get anything, but we put it on the table. The 7-Eleven Kelsey Way, that's the trailer park over here. I think I've given you the latest on that. They've made a proposal that they've gotten rid of 2 trailers. They'll get rid of 2 really quickly, and the final 2 are kind of up in the air 2 to 3 years. And they said they're reworking their proposal in the direction of creating small constructed units on site. That's my personal preference, because it goes through the whole building inspection process and they have to build the code. I think that's what you want. The
Tiny
units are gonna
homes.
look good.
Right?
Sorry?
Tiny homes?
Yeah, between 350 and 450 square feet, yeah. And they acknowledged, I sent them an email a couple of weeks ago and they said, yeah, we really appreciate what council's offering here. We're working on a proposal. So just so you know that that's in the works. And that leaves us with Adama. It's in his ball court. There's all sorts of issues with the project. I think, are you aware that there's issues with water, there's issues with sewer, there's issues with access across back to those single family dwellings in the back. And there's issues with gradients on roads, being able to even get up there if there's a problem within the commercial section. So it's basically up to them to respond to the questions of the AO. And once that's done, we'll come back and you'll have some decisions to make. But frankly, it's a great project if it can work. But from a money perspective, getting it to that stage, and from frankly a water perspective, you don't have to go far up that hill before we can't offer what we're supposed to offer, which is, I think it's 60 PSI. And how he's going to get water way in the back, and he'll have to do that infrastructure, is a really interesting challenge. Anyway, so I don't know the timeline on that. We get him a letter. He has to respond. We're waiting for that response.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay, so G is the regional grant opportunity for UBCM, Indigenous Culture and Safety. Anybody want to expand on that? CEO? No? So that was 100% of $3,000, correct? Okay, so recommended resolution is that the report from the CEO be received and that the part of the village of Saybird ongoing commitment towards truth and reconciliation, that the application for financial assistance under the Indigenous Cultural and Safety and Cultural excuse me, Ability Grant be authorized for the subdivision, submission, there's a CEO got development on my brain, submission to UBCM in collaboration with the Strathcona Regional District, and that the Village of Saybird agrees to the Strathcona Regional District submitting an application on their behalf. If the funding agrees, the Strathcona Regional District manage the grant and being recipient of all funding. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion is carried. 13, bylaws. 2022-2026 5-year financial plan. Amendment bylaw, Lisa Clark.
Sorry, we just skipped over 12 there. I know it said none.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did have a-
Emergency Service, Public Works, Recreation Department reports, none. 13. Go ahead.
I did have a question with that. How often do we get reports from Public Works and the Recreation Department? Is there a schedule for that? That was just, I had a question here about 12, even though there's nothing.
Yeah,
for
there
them.
is no schedule that has been put in place for reports. So CAO, do you want to comment on that?
It's interesting. This is something that's been put in place, I think,
Recently.
recently. Yeah. It's in the procedure bylaw. All right. I mean, quite frankly, if there's a recreation or public works department and come forward as a staff report, I mean, that's the way I would do it, but.
Yeah, we've never received, this is a new thing. This has just been brought up, and as Lisa's, or the CFO is mentioning, it's in the procedure bylaw, but hasn't been followed in the past. So CAO, are you suggesting that there be staff report given on the Recreation Department?
Well, I know you're gonna get one. You're gonna get one on December 6th.
Okay,
But if it's okay with council, we'll just keep it under staff reports. I mean, it is a staff report, but again, it's kind of interesting because the procedural bylaw says
and Public Works and Emergency Services?
sorry, emergency services is usually Counselor Tom.
Correct. Counselor Chesley would have to do a report.
Public Works, I'm not quite sure why they've got it under like a special heading because they are staff and staff reports should go under the staff section, but I don't know why it's that way.
Counselor Chesley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Emergency Services did do a report, I think it was about 3 months ago.
Mhm.
By the way I see it right now is there are reminders of, you know, if somebody has new information to provide, so
That's where
hence
they
that
go.
report. So it's not a month or every meeting type of situation. It's a reminder that if we have new information to bring forward, we'll bring it forward in a report.
Okay.
Thanks.
Does that help, Counselor?
Yes, no, that clarifies it. I was just
Okay.
curious how that works. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, did we do 13A? No, we haven't finished 13A yet. That the 5-year financial plan amendment bylaw number 491, 2022 be given first, second, and third reading. Do you have a motion, please?
I will
Second.
second that.
Sorry, your second? Okay, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion is carried. Number 14, new business. We have covered all the additional business, correct? We don't have any new business. And 15, public question period. For the purpose of the public question period is to enable citizens to ask questions of the council about issues that are important to the citizen asking the question. Speakers are asked to limit their questions to one each, and if time permits, everyone will have the opportunity to ask a question. Speakers may ask a second question. Citizens may state their name and address. Do we have anything online? No? Okay, thank you. And number 16, recommended resolution that in accordance with section 92 of the community charter, this council meeting will be closed to the public at this time in order to council to be consideration to matters in accordance with the following section of the community charter, section 90-1-C and section 91-K. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second it.
discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion's carried. In camera, we're going to take, adjournment. And in camera, we'll start in 8 minutes. Roughly 8 minutes.